This is an At the Eyepiece mini review.
Hi everyone, it's John Kramer here with the At the Eyepiece show. This is episode number 76, and we are covering the Zhumell 1.25" 8 to 24 millimeter zoom eyepiece that I have in my hand right here. Really good case, by the way, that this thing comes with. I haven't seen one like this, but I really like it. It's very protective. You're going to certainly protect the optics and the eyepiece with that case. Let's talk about some of the physical characteristics of this eyepiece. Let's take the caps off here. You got front and bottom cap here. You have a nice rubber eye guard here. You can fold down if you're comfortable with that, but it's very soft, very comfortable. Nice textured barrel, rather typical, but I do like that a lot. I prefer this over, say, a smooth barrel. Very smooth, speaking of smooth, very smooth movement here as you go through the magnification levels of this zoom eyepiece. 1.25" barrel recessed here so that there's no slippage in the diagonal or eyepiece holder. It is threaded for filters, 1.25". One note about that, however, I had found in use, particularly if you're down to, say, the 8 millimeter range, you can see how far the lens elements actually move down there. They're going to interfere with your barrel for your filter. Keep that in mind. But even more so, there's a little recessed, I'm not sure if you can see it, there's a little recessed lip there inside. You cannot get your filters to screw on all the way onto this eyepiece. So just keep that in mind. I had a little bit of difficulty starting also to get the filters screwed on, but you know, they were able to get on there and held on there just fine. So optical performance of this eyepiece. I did not have the opportunity to do a side-by-side with this eyepiece against, say, the premium Olivon eyepieces that I had, the zooms, if you recall. Excuse me, if you recall that. But I will tell you, after using this a number of times, its optical performance is very good. I would say that this loses to the premium zoom eyepieces as it pertains to field of view, brightness that I recall, and yes, a little bit of sharpness. No, I'd say contrast. Sharpness was decent. Its contrast that I recall was a little bit less from this compared to memory and notes from the Olivon. However, doesn't mean that this is a bad eyepiece. On the contrary, this is a fantastic performing eyepiece. I've used it a number of times. Outreach in particular. It's great to take one scope and one eyepiece. You got all your ranges that you need. 24 for open clusters, 18 to 12 for globs, and of course some planetary, and 8 millimeter if you want to get some high-powered stuff on the moon. I also use this exclusively when I'm using my grab-and-go scope, which is the 6-inch f8 Dobsonian. So I've used this eyepiece a lot. And I tell you, I don't miss really any of the other premium eyepieces that I have. When I'm doing a quick view and when I am maybe checking out a few things during the daytime, solar observing, hydrogen alpha, or white light, this eyepiece does fine. Yes, it does get a little bit of reflections on bright objects that I've seen, but that's minimum. Surprisingly nice. One thing in particular visually that might bother you, I noticed this too, is that the field stop is quite visible in this at 24. I mean, it really does look like you're looking through a long tube. Doesn't give you the spacewalk feeling at all, folks, so just keep that in mind. You might be bothered by it, you might not. I think the value that this eyepiece presents certainly overcomes anything remotely close to any shortcomings that I could say here. It is an excellent eyepiece for the value. By the way, this eyepiece is $59.98 right now, folks, so you can't help but go out there and pick up this eyepiece. It's a great value. Optically, it's It's an excellent value. It does just fine. And I'll tell you, you might you might be using this eyepiece almost exclusively there. I don't know. It could get pretty addictive using a zoom. You're going to lose out, obviously, on the field of view. 40 millimeters, or 40 degrees rather, to 60 degrees. Not a great deal of field of view. Other premium zoom eyepieces might do better for that. Obviously the field stop, but gosh, great value. The Zhumell 1.25" zoom eyepiece. Definitely need to pick one up if you haven't done so already. $59.98 at the time of this impression and review. That's that. Thanks for watching this episode number 76 of the At the Eyepiece Show. I'm John Kramer. Hope to see you next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of At the Eyepiece. If you would like to participate in a future show as a featured guest, or perhaps you have suggestions for future show topics, send me an email at theeyepiece@gmail.com. Check out our blog at theeyepiece.blogspot.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. Just put in a search for At the Eyepiece. I'd like to thank George Wood for his bumper and exit music. This is 8-Bit Junkie, and we obtained that from podsafeaudio.com. So here's wishing all of you plenty of clear skies so that we can all talk about it next time at the Eyepiece.